You think you understand the game. You know what a range is, what it means, what position matters? But if you're watching this video, there's one simple truth. You're still losing money. And it's not because the deck hates you. It's not because the dealer's unlucky. And it's definitely not because the fish always run better. No, the real reason is deeper and more painful. What I'm about to tell you isn't in any course or coaching video. Because most players would rather lie to themselves than face the truth. But you're here, and that already puts you above average. These 5 brutal truths separate those who survive the game from those who master it, those who blame the cards, from those who command their mind. The first truth is hard, maybe the hardest to admit. You don't lose because you play bad. You lose because you think like a loser. And that starts long before the first hand is dealt. It starts in silence, when you sit at the table and fear already sits beside you, wearing your smile, disguised as confidence. Tilt doesn't start when you lose a hand. Tilt starts when you can't accept who you really are as a player. When you play to prove something instead of learning. When you play to dominate instead of observe. When you enter the table to fight, not to think. Poker is about staying cold in chaos. But most people play with their hearts on fire, trapped between ego and fear, and that's when the real enemy strikes. Not the guy across the table, but the one inside your own head. If you can't master yourself, no amount of theory or training will save you. Poker will destroy you, one buy-in at a time. You don't lose because of variance. You lose because you're still fighting a war inside your own mind. You watch videos. You read books. You study theory. You even review hands, but when you sit down to play, everything vanishes. Your brain switches to survival mode. And once again, you make the same mistakes. You see, you don't study to understand the game. You study to feel like you're improving. It's self-deception, a trap for smart players. You think learning means consuming content. But true study means questioning everything you believe. It means writing down what hurts, revisiting the hands that burned you, looking at your graph and saying, this one's on me. Real progress only happens when you stop hiding from your mistakes. You've seen pros fold top pair on the river and thought, I could never do that. They weren't born with discipline. They built it by failing, by reviewing, by reflecting. Average players search for answers. Elite players search for better questions. They don't ask, how do I win more hands? They ask, why do I keep putting myself in losing spots? They don't ask, what's the best move here? They ask, what's the worst one and why do I still make it? The mindset, to question instead of justify, is what creates real mastery. You don't lose to the deck, you lose to the patterns you refuse to break. Poker doesn't reward how much you learn. It rewards how much you're willing to unlearn. You might think tilt is your biggest enemy, but it's not. The real villain, the silent killer, is ego. Ego doesn't shout, it whispers. It tells you you're too good to review the basics. It tells you that guy who called you down is an idiot, that you lost only because of bad luck. And while ego talks, awareness dies. Ego turns grinders into emotional gamblers. It blinds you to the truth until the game humbles you. Ego paints defeat as injustice. I played right. He played wrong. But in poker, there's no right or wrong. There's only decision and consequence. Ego hates folding. Ego hates admitting mistakes. Ego hates learning from people who win more. And worst of all, ego hates patience. But poker is a waiting game, a war of timing and emotional control. You don't need to be the smartest at the table. You need to be the calmest. Even Phil Hellmuth, the man with the most bracelets in history, has been crushed by his own ego many times. But he knows when ego takes the wheel. That's what separates him from the rest. Average players defend their ego. Masters detect it and silence it. Ego is tilt disguised as confidence. You don't lose when the cards go bad. You lose when you stop listening to the game, and poker always speaks. But only those with humility can hear it. You're proud of your routine. You grind daily, you study, you review, you show up. But let me ask you this. When was the last time your routine truly changed you? Most players confuse consistency with growth. Doing the same thing every day isn't discipline, it's comfort disguised as effort, and in poker, comfort is poison. You can play for years, thousands of hands, and still be mentally stuck at level 1, because repetition isn't progress. Adjustment is. Real discipline isn't doing what you know, it's doing what still scares you. It's looking at your mistakes with cold honesty, it's admitting that your graph reflects your mindset. But the ego and false discipline keep you believing you're improving, and so you keep spinning the same loop. Discipline becomes a cage. True grinders don't repeat, they refine. Every session, every mistake, every thought, they all become part of the process. You don't evolve by volume, you evolve by awareness. 10,000 hands won't save you if your mind is still asleep. Attention is the rarest skill at the poker table. Most players click without thinking, react without feeling, but the best see beyond the cards. They feel rhythm, timing, emotion. Poker isn't math, it's music. And the masters don't calculate every note. They listen to the silence between them. Discipline is the map. Instinct is the compass. And the journey only begins when you stop confusing one for the other. Everyone says they play poker for money. But money is just a mirror, not the goal. It reflects what you've learned and what you still haven't mastered. Poker is a reflection of your relationship with fear, control, and ego. When you chase money, it runs away. When you chase improvement, it follows. The amateur forces results. The master trusts the process. Poker is not a card game. It's a psychological mirror. Every bluff is a test of courage. Every fold is an act of humility. Every all-in is a leap of faith. The one who only sees money misses the lesson hidden in every loss. The best players don't obsess over chips. They obsess over decisions. Each choice is an invisible victory. Each session is mental training. Each defeat, a priceless lesson. When you realize that, tilt disappears, fear disappears, and greed disappears, poker stops being war. It becomes self-discovery. You stop playing against others, you start playing against yourself. And that's the only game worth winning. The real profit in poker isn't money. It's the person you become to deserve it. When you reach that level, the cards stop being enemies. The bad beats stop being pain. And every chip becomes a symbol of mastery, patience, and awareness. Poker is not about cards, it's about the mind. And the mind is where the real game is played. If you've understood this, you're already ahead of 95% of the world. But the game has only just begun. You can learn every strategy, every concept, every trick, but until you master your mind, you'll never master the game. Subscribe to Mind of a Grinder. Here, we don't just talk about poker, we talk about mindset, growth, and mastery. Like the video, share it with another grinder, and remember, you don't play to prove something. You play to become something greater.